What's up, guys? Welcome to the Metaverse podcast. My name's Archetype, and I'm joined by Atlas Theory, my co-host. And today on this episode, we're covering off on a tweet that we saw from one of the biggest Web3 gamers, Star Atlas, and their head of community, Santi, asking how to onboard Web2 gamers into the Web3 world. We'll cover off on all this and more on today's episode.
Welcome, guys. How's it going? Welcome in. So, Archetype, there's many places we can start with this discussion. Very hot topic, or spicy, should I say. Little nod to Dom there from Star Atlas. But where should we jump in?
Let's define Web2 and Web3 gaming. I know we've talked about this previously on the podcast, but for those, maybe this is their first time listening, let's go into that.
From my opinion, Web3 is individuals across the nations who look at new technology and new ways of gaming and adding structure to gaming. And it's just an evolution from the current state.
Yeah, essentially, like the game is just still the game. Everyone's still building out like fun gameplay that are appealing to the audience. That's what we want, right? It's just the underlying structure behind it, payment methods and marketplaces and the way that we communicate, or just the way that they involve community. I think that's the different shift that they're going towards. And, there's been a bit of kickback from the Web2 world. They don't necessarily think that it's a change for the better. And I think that's the sort of things that I'd like to cover off on first. Just like the pros and cons, I guess, from the argument from the Web2 world of why they might not want this new change to come through.
Yeah. In the current Web3 ecosystem, we're seeing a lot of games being built out. Not all of them are what we would say are AAA quality, but nonetheless, they are experimenting with Web3 technology, such as wallets, with digital assets, transferring and selling of digital assets.
There was like a light bulb moment for these game devs where they've gone, oh, hang on a sec, like we can make some money off this. Let's just spit out a game as fast as possible. And they weren't focused on good gameplay, good graphics, any of those things that you talked about. They were just thinking like, let's be first to market. Let's try and get out there because there's not much competition.
Yeah.
And now I think we've hit this new phase, and there's some games that are being built out slowly now. And they're really starting to focus on the right way of doing these things. And that's what's interesting.
Yeah. And I'm very grateful for where we're headed. A lot of cool projects coming up. And it's what's needed, honestly, because the Web2 community, they're out here with major tournaments, AAA games, live streams that get thousands and thousands of people watching. Like they can't look at an emerging space and see 90s, early 2000s, even 2010 graphics, being spit out and find any sort of interest in that. But let's kind of break it down with some more problems that Web2 gamers find with Web3. I'm going to test out one to you real fast. Can you explain a little bit more of play to earn?
Yeah, well, this is starting to become a bit of a taboo word, right? Yeah. Play to earn. And I think the idea is that the play part is not enjoyable because all you're trying to do is reach that earn part. And we saw that with games like Axie Infinity, one of the first and biggest, the one that everyone throws out there as a reference. And it just wasn't enjoyable. People sort of lost interest in it. It was good for some developing nations that got into it. Like they were earning more money playing Axie Infinity, like say in the Philippines, than they would from a normal job.
Yeah.
And I think that got everyone interested, even folks from, say, Western countries that could earn quite a lot of money from a day job. They were thinking, oh, okay, well, that's going to be the same for me. And it really wasn't. Like it wasn't on par with what you could earn from a, typical day job, even, low income. And so like they had this initial burst and then it kind of dropped off. So uh, it it needs fun gameplay
Yeah.
because otherwise there's no interest. Like, why would Web 2 want to merge into this Web 3 world, like you say, just to earn money when the gameplay is not there? And that's the fundamental thing.
Mm-hmm.
So play to earn, I think, is losing its appeal,
Yeah.
and I think a new phase is coming about, which is play and earn, and that takes the emphasis off the earn part and more on the play, and the earn just becomes a little bit of a bonus in the end.
Mm-hmm. It's a needed change. I mean, it's very, very small, right? So, but it's needed to make the end goal something that's more appealing, like you're saying. It's one of many terms that needs to change. I think we almost need to do away with or redefine most terms we've been using in the Web3 gaming space. One of them
Yeah.
being NFTs. Ooh,
Ooh.
no. No. Digital collectible? Yes.
Wow, I like it. I actually don't mind NFT. I think it's fine, but yeah, people don't seem to like it, right?
Nope. NFTs, non fungible tokens, right? You create a token, it can't be copied, it's yours. You can trace ownership through it. A lot of cool things that I think the gaming community and Web2 would love to have, but it's just been preached time and time again. NFTs are a scam. NFTs are bad. So just that word NFTs, if they see it anywhere near a product, they'll stay away. Is that what you're finding,
Mm.
Archetype?
Yeah, even game companies like saying straight up, like, we're Web3.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of that term too. Like,
Yeah,
just say we're a
for
game.
gaming.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's that's the
yeah.
main problem.
Essentially, if you took like a Web3 game, let's just say the ideal one, and you look at like a traditional Web2 game, there's not a lot different that they're doing.
No.
It's really just the underlying rails that they're working with. And so they don't need to be at the forefront. No one needs to really know. I think that it's the same with crypto. Like, it'll get to the point where you don't talk about, you know, what kind of web service that your underlying web service that you're using. You just click on the internet and you go.
Hmm.
You don't need to know the technicals behind all that. Same if you're like transferring fiat money in the traditional banking world. You don't need to know what kind of software they're operating on
No.
behind the scenes to get from one bank to the other. And I think it should be the same for gaming. Is you turn on the game, you see the menu, you start playing, you collect items. That's all you really need to know, right? Like, you don't need to see all that front end jargon that's going to turn people away.
Nope. I agree with you. And I think that's a great transition into what we mentioned in the intro, which is Santi's question on Twitter. I think that we should take that, maybe apply it towards Star Atlas a little bit, but also to the wider onboarding process of Web 2 to Web 3. So, how do we onboard Web 2 players into Web 3?
Good question, man. Yeah. I see the conversation being had on Twitter,
Mm,
and I see like Web3 onboarding Web2. And all I notice is it's just a bunch of Web3
right.
people talking to other Web3
Yep.
people. And they'll have like a Twitter space and they'll brand it Web3. Like, that's the first tagline in their conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good to have those conversations within, the Web3 community.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see a lot of it where it's just talking about gaming.
Right.
And I think that that's a lot of time devoted on talking about it and not actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, these game companies are getting their strategy together and then they will focus on doing some of these like Twitter spaces and trying to onboard these Web2 people. But is Web2 gamers on Twitter?
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the platform. Like, where are they?
Twitch. There's communities all over the place. But yeah, I find the question funny. It's a serious question. But I think if we redefine it, it's basically asking, how do you onboard gamers to gaming? And it's just like it is. I know Web3 is different because it uses different technology, but it's still gaming. So like, I think we definitely, like we've said a few times already, we need to change the words we're using, and we need to stop creating this echo chamber, because that's all we're doing by using terminology that's not used by the wider gaming community.
I'm going to pick on Star Atlas a bit.
Okay.
I love Star Atlas, by the way.
Let's pick on them. No, we never pick on them. I think this is needed.
Yeah. I think they've established themselves as a Web3 gaming company.
Yeah.
And so if they're going to pull any more crypto native people into gaming, they kind of already established a name for themselves. Okay, so let's drop it. Like, let's drop this whole "we are Web3 gaming." Like, people will find that out. A little exploration into, what is Star Atlas. They can find all that information.
Yeah.
So why not take away all that from the front end of Star Atlas and just focus on what's cool about it? The graphics and the gameplay and all these sorts of things. Like, being able to level up. You can still talk about those things. You can level up. You don't have to say that it's through, gamified, economy and all that sort of thing. Like, people will find that out. And it's kind of, if it's a proven thing that works for Web 2, then why even debate it? Just do it.
Right. No, seriously. I agree with you. I'm going to jump in with something. I'm a little afraid to jump in with this, but I'm going to just do it. I dislike the Twitter Spaces on Friday that's labeled the future of Web3 gaming. I love Santi. I love Ashes. I love Star Atlas. I love many of the people that they have on as guests. But what it's becoming is two things. They're saying the future of Web3 gaming. Well, Star Atlas is really the strongest play, in my opinion, out of the group that they're bringing on. So I feel that they're not being held back by the others, but I feel there's nowhere to grow. Again, you could recruit people one by one slowly over time, but I think the conversations they need to be having is with other games within their genre or other big Web2 studios. For instance, why not have a conversation with, let's just say, EA, with why they failed at, NFTs? Because now you're going to have a Twitter space where people who like EA see that name with Star Atlas. And then you're going to get a lot of controversy coming in, right? And you're going to be able to steer a conversation to promote Web3. Likewise, Bethesda is releasing Starfield, a space game, right? So why not try to work out some conversation with, Bethesda? What makes a good space game? I hate to say it, but maybe even Star Citizen. Like, they're going to be direct competitors. Like, it's not outside of it because it's Web3. They're both space games, and the larger Web2 community already would favor Star Citizen because it doesn't have the NFT language to it, But I don't see the future of Web3 gaming as the best use of time, especially since it replaced a Star Atlas ritual, which was the weekly town halls. And so we lost an aspect of the community in that.
Yeah. For me, it's well said, man. Well said. It needed to be said. Yeah. For me, like 3 a.m. is when these go down. And if it was a town hall, I'd get up for that and I'd listen. But when it's just that circular conversations, it's not worth it for me to get up. And like you said, you lose that ritual with the community,
Yeah.
which then just people not talking starts to feel like, when game. That's what happens. People just start asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what you said about having that conversation with other Web2 companies. And instead of being that big fish in a small pond, go to the bigger communities and be like, hey, this is our game. We know you guys hate Web3 like for these reasons. What could we do better?
Right.
And just come at it with some humility and just sort of say like, well, surely you would have to say like that you like what we're doing as far as gameplay. What are the things that put you off? And just come at it in that sense, because you're going to learn a lot more in that way. Like you said, you take the heat, but you find out what people are really thinking.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. And I think this could bring us somewhere interesting that you and I have talked about. And I think you or a few others even wrote it in Santi's post is they have done a few things in this direction. One of them being the Epic Game Store.
Yes.
Can we talk about that situation and what Web3 games and Star Atlas could do to make that experience better for Web2 gaming?
Well, they had launched on Epic Games, but you needed a game code. And to get that game code, you needed to have some sort of NFT purchased from Star Atlas Marketplace and basically lock it up with them for a week. You earn rewards in that lockup period, but that then gets you a game code. And what was funny was, even if you didn't do that whole process, you could kind of like just get in the Discord and ask for a game code anyway.
Yeah.
They were giving them away. It was nice that they sort of had that exclusivity to the community first. But I thought that was only going to last for, say, a week or two.
Yeah.
And yet now it's still happening. And when I look in the general chat of the Discord on Star Atlas, anytime I jump in there, there's always someone asking like, how do I download the game? What? I need a game code? Where do I get the game codes? Do away with that. You don't need that anymore.
No.
Like, just let people get into it. You're putting barriers in front of people. And if it's too hard, or even if it's a little bit hard, they might only have a window of like, say, an hour. Like, I want to jump on. I've heard about Star Atlas. Like, girlfriend's gone out, or I've only got like an hour before I got to go to work. I want to play some games. And then, oh, hang on, I need a game code. I got to get into the Discord server. I got to ask for a game code. By the time they install it, the time is gone. And they might just go, stuff it. I'm going to hit power on the PlayStation or Xbox. I'm going to just play my traditional games.
Yeah.
So that needs to go. They need to get rid of that completely.
What would you say to like the rebuttal of that, which I believe Michael Wagner proposed as it's more of like a quality control mechanism at the moment to, yeah. What would you say to that?
The only thing I can think of is like quality control for what? Like, are they worried about bots? Are they worried about malicious activity? Like, what is it exactly? That's something that I don't understand completely. Are they worried about like servers being overwhelmed? What's the argument there? What do you think?
Oh yeah. I'm not the best to ask about like these, but like maybe it's some sort of quality control in the form of being able to preserve the gameplay and narrative around the releases, so that the best images and best experiences are being presented as they build out. But I also don't think the servers are going to be flooded even if you opened all the keys, because we still have a lot of work to do with growing the community, which Santi, Dom, Jose are absolutely killing it. Yeah, great team. But yeah, I think it's time we can open up keys. As if they want to wait for the racing to be done and PvP, I understand that maybe a little bit more than where we currently are, just being able to like walk around. and see your digital assets in the showroom. But I think the time is coming, if not here already, for that.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole having to have an NFT to play the game?
So here's an interesting thing, and I'll bring it out of Star Atlas since we've been inside for a little bit. I think that I don't know why, but it's hard for gamers to look at a $20 ship and see that, and and not see that as a negative. Like, oh, I have to spend $20 to play your game. Well, you've spent $70 over in Walmart. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah. You're downloading the game for free. There's one thing. Buy a $20 ship, go play. However, I do think that with the philosophy of a lot of Web3 gaming, with the play and earn, I think, in my opinion, I would love for it to start out with a free ship. And should it be a good ship? No. If you don't have the money, it should be kind of in that culture to promote joining a guild, because the guilds have money and they have ships that you can borrow. If you want to be a racer, go join a racing group. They'll supply you with, a good ship if you're a good racer. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to open up. Here's your Fimble bike, let's just say, few bucks, but they might as well start off with it for free. Same as a gun. You should start off with a free gun and a free outfit, Yeah. Boom.
Yeah. 100% agree, man.
Yeah.
100%. Even like, I feel they could have, or maybe they are doing it. They could build out like a little tutorial intro to the game. And by completing that, that's when you get, say, that free asset. So, and that could even include, asset security. Like you have to click through a couple of things that just talk about like your safety with keeping your assets stored for yourself. But you feel like you've achieved something, or like maybe that can come later, but something is like as simple as like a skin, or like you say, a gun. If a Web2 person comes in, there's no game code. It's easy to just download, press play. They get something exciting in that first initial, space of say 20 minutes, half an hour of playing the game. And they feel like they've achieved something and they unlock something. Now that they have it, don't go through that process of now you have to download a wallet. Now you have to transfer it here. Now you have to get some Solana for gas fees and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Just have that asset linked to their profile. And when they want to fully claim it into their own custodial wallet, then do it. But in the meantime, it can live in a Web2 kind of structure where it's just linked to their profile. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, me too. You're sparking a lot of ideas as well. I know in a lot of Web2 MMO games, you have your items, but then there's also a bank or like a bank of sorts that you can store your things in. If they made that the wallets and made a like teaching process of like opening your bank or opening your treasury or whatever you want to call it as part of the game, I think that is a perfect way to bring Web 2 into Web 3. Because it's sitting in the background, but it's also a process we need to teach them how to do, instead of like spending the resources to make YouTube tutorials about what Web3 is, what a wallet is, and how to do it. Put it inside the game, and make 100%. It part of the education. This goes even back to, I have Professor Oak in my head. Welcome to the world of Pokemon. This is this. Pick one of these three guys, go on your adventure. Yeah.
Because how quickly would people like, if they've won something, if they've earned something, how quickly would they learn how to, take possession of that?
Yeah.
If they're getting something for free, or they've just unlocked something, you've then given them a reason to come back to that game.
No, definitely. Yeah, there's some special stuff I think they could do with that, where they bring in the wider Web2 audience just by opening everything up and then teaching through gameplay.
Yeah. One other thing I would love to see, maybe we could wrap it up after that, unless you have something else. But we in Star Atlas are a big community across many different countries, like all over the globe. And, we're intelligent people. We're people with skill sets. We're people that love to communicate and love to interact, love to network, very social, very understanding of the game reputation when we're out in the public talking about Star Atlas. I think that as a company and other Web3 companies, if you were to reach out to your community and to empower them to get to some of these gaming expos where traditional Web2 games are set up. I know that there is one next month where I am, which is a gaming and comic expo, and I'll be going and I'll be walking around. I'll be checking it out. But it could be as simple as like a little booth with a couple of, laptops or computers set up where people can see the Star Atlas gameplay. And, you could have, say, a budget that you give and a little bit of a guideline of what needs to happen. So they could have a banner printed and put up in the background. You could have, some things out on the table for people to collect, some QR codes. Like if I was the head of whatever that department is in Star Atlas, I'd be looking to put together a kit and a little training exercise. And maybe it's a, 1 hour or 2 hour meetup online, and you walk people through and you sort of certify them to then go off and to do that. And maybe there's some incentive there. You've done this for us, you put in your time. Here's some Star Atlas assets for your time, or here's however many people you can onboard. Like there's a reward to that. You get so many eyeballs because these events are happening all over the world, all the time. And they don't need to do the legwork. Yeah. I think that would be a great onboarding experience for people.
100%. Ambassadors would really help grow the Web3 community. Well, guys, it is that time again where we throw the question over to you. How do you think that we could onboard Web2 gamers into the Web3 ecosystem? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear what you thought of ours. Agree, disagree. Also, give us, a subscribe, a rating on the whatever pod. On whatever on whatever podcast platform on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. But where can they find us, Archetype? Where are these platforms?
Well, we want comments on this video down below. We want likes. We want subscriptions. We're putting in the hard work. You can get us at any podcast platform of your choice. You can get us on our website, metaversedpod.com. And we're most active on Twitter. So have a look. Find us, Metaversed Pod, on Twitter. And give us a follow.
Awesome. Until then, we'll see you guys next time. And we'll get you metaversed.